Walk with me. So the last couple days have been utterly crazy. A lot of fear, nervousness, anxiety, uncertainty, a lot of emotion, a lot of reflection. You might be asking, well, why is that, Blake? For those of you guys that saw the news, there was a very, very large fire in Pacific Palisades. And yes, not only do I live in Pacific Palisades, my house was extremely close to the fire. And on Sunday, when the alerts hit our phone from the Los Angeles Fire Department to prepare evacuation, and the news channels started airing the shift in the fire, as we saw our street listed on the lower print and our house and neighborhood on the news from the helicopters. My family and I were at Disneyland. We took the kids to Disney on Sunday, a trip we've been excited for ever since they reopened for California. My wife waited in line some ridiculous amount of time online to grab the tickets. We're huge Disney fans. And this was kind of the first time Sadie got to go where she's been an age that she got to kind of really experience it. And there we are, getting in line at Pirates of the Caribbean, and we get the alerts. So we get off the ride, we call my mom, who was there at my house with my dad, taking care of Jaeger, our American bulldog. And she was frantic, and we immediately start walking her through the items in the house to grab and pack in the car so she could get out of there. Imagine being in a situation where all of a sudden you got an alert and something that could be a real threat, something that could lead to like losing everything, and you got put on the spot in the moment to walk somebody through grabbing whatever items can fit in a car in a short amount of time to evacuate. What guidance would you give? Because that was a situation that Karis and I were in a couple days ago. So I want to go into not only what I told her to grab, which I'll happily list for you guys, but some thoughts around it and some lessons from it, from evacuation day of the Palisades Fire. Before we get into all of that, you know I'm going to ask, who is by my side this morning? Don't be shy, say hello. I love our time together. If you're back with the crew, you know the drill. Open up the comment thread, say hello, how are you? Where are you from? Tell me something good going on in your life, something you're grateful for in your life right now. If you're new to the crew, welcome. The only thing I ask is that you don't passively sit there behind a screen. You actively collaborate, participate, contribute, introduce yourself, and chime in with any feedback or perspective you may have. That adds value to me and all of us together. We walk together live, usually weekly, usually on Wednesdays. Walk with me Wednesdays around this time. And you can catch past conversations on the podcast, Alive by Design, just celebrated our 1 year anniversary. It was a fun episode. Acknowledged a bunch of awards. If you haven't caught that, definitely check it out. There's a surprise gift for you at the end when you listen. But today's conversation, guys, it's an emotional one. Before I get into my list, why my list, and the lessons from my evacuation list, quick story, backtrack. Maybe one of the reasons this is even more emotional than maybe it could be is I have a history with fire. Probably something just about all of you don't know, because I don't think it's a story I've really ever told. But this whole experience brought me back to that moment. I was 13 years old, obviously living with my parents and family out in Newbury Park, California. That's kind of Thousand Oaks, Ventura County. And for those from the area, they remember the fire of around 1994. Was a really bad one. And I grew up in a house that was the very last house nestled in a canyon. And the property not only was the last house, but was in the crevice of a canyon. So literally on, 3 sides of the house was stuff that looked a lot like this. Almost exactly like this, because it's the same mountain range, just over the hill. Which is a really dangerous place to be for fire. I'm gonna go ahead and take a seat, if it's okay with y'all. And so much, in fact, that there was a fence that we had to keep up and keep clear a certain amount of feet away from the house. I don't remember if it was 150 feet or 150 yards, something like that, around the perimeter of the house. And we had to keep everything clear between that fence and the house. But everything on the other side of those fence was always shrubbery. And, I remember at 13 years old getting the warning that this fire was over the mountains, kind of heading the direction. I remember what happened when we got the news that the winds had shifted going into the evening one night, blowing our direction. I remember sitting there with my family watching through the darkness as the clouds, got closer and closer and closer, of the smoke getting dark, over the mountain as I was looking up. I remember having to pack up everything in cars with myself, my younger sister, my parents, in preparation. And I remember the moment when, looking up at the hill, all of a sudden we saw the first flame, not just smoke, but flame, reach the peak, and we knew that fire was coming down the mountain. No sign of fire trucks at that point. My mom and my sister got in the car. My dad said he's gonna stay, and my dad gave me the option at that time, kind of crazy at 13 years old, to go with my mom or my sister or stay at the house with him. Not knowing what type of help we were going to have or going to get. And at 13 years old, I chose to stay at the house with my dad. My mom and my sister took off with all of our stuff, and we sat there in the driveway as we watched the flame come over the mountain and start to take over the entire hillside as it got closer and closer and closer, all the way down the mountain. Talk about a feeling of fear, a surrealism, as you watch fire come over shrubbery, building momentum, start to split from the peak and go down both sides of the mountain, knowing that it was going to come surrounding the house. And sitting there with our scarves on, my dad gave me the hose in the front and said my job was to sit there and hose the garage, which at that time was wood, to keep it dry, and the wood strip that was under the roof. The roof was tile, but under the roof was wood, and continue to hose that out. And so I sat there and started doing my job as the flames got closer. My dad grabbed the hose in the backyard, doing the same. Right before the fire started to get or approach the fence, the fire department showed up. Truck pulled up the driveway, firemen hooked up their hoses, and all of a sudden headed for the mountains. And we sat there all night long, watching the fire department stay at the perimeter, me in the front, my dad in the back, sitting there literally through the entire night, fighting a fire, keeping it from getting to the house. I mean, every little bit, I'd sit there and get pelted in the back of the head as the fire department would fling their hose in my direction to give me some cover over the front, and then continue back to the shrubs up the mountain. Those images are still in my head. I mean, you talk about images of hell, the most hellish image of an entire mountain on fire surrounding the entire perimeter of a house all night long. I mean, that's what it looked like, and just sat there continuing to do my job. The way that story ended was positive. Fire ended up going out by the morning. By the morning, it continued down. It saved the house. The house did not burn. Everything around the house did. And everybody in town was just in awe that the house didn't burn. So went through that experience, and that experience is, still with me. Remember all of that very, very, very vividly. So yesterday, when all of a sudden we got back to the house Sunday night, my mom had the car, my wife, Karis, and our kids evacuated with the car, but I ended up going back to the house just to make sure I saw what was going on, saw how close this was. Went to bed, Sunday night, seeing flames from my bedroom balcony. Some of you guys saw the photo. I probably posted on my Instagram story. Woke up in the morning to smoke all throughout the backyard, all throughout the sides, seeing right over the hill where the fire department was going. Non-stop copters, choppers, 2 of them, 24/7, doing laps, watching them from the backyard, from the water reservoir we could see from the house, dumping it. In the middle of the afternoon, the wind shifted, and all of a sudden I'm sitting there from my home desk, look out my window, and there's that giant cloud of smoke that wasn't there earlier. And instantly I flashed back to that moment when I saw the smoke coming over the hill, ran outside, ran up the hill, and saw, wind shifted, a new flame started coming closer, and that one was on our side of the hill. And in that minute, I'm like, we're going to go through the same thing. I thought there was a 50-50 chance that thing was going to come over again right in the back of the house. The fire department all of a sudden came in with giant airplanes, 2 giant airplanes. And for a period of about 5 hours, just started doing laps, dropping the giant red material that blocks the fire. And over the course of a couple hours, that smoke started to go away. And by the evening of last night, it was in a lot better place. So when I say I have a history of fire, it triggered a lot of emotion watching all of that the other day. And sitting there going, wow, this could be a situation again where you could lose everything. So back to the question for all of you. If you were in that situation where you had to walk somebody through grabbing everything in your house, you weren't even there, and they had a short period of time to pack a car, what direction would you give them? It's an interesting question to ask. I pray and I hope that you never have to be in that situation. But I think it's a worthwhile exercise to ask yourself that question. If you were, what would you do? For me, I'll tell you what Karis and I did. We walked out of Pirates. We started making a list, and we called my mom, and we said, okay, well, first and foremost, we're going to make sure, Karis and the kids and my dog, Jaeger, out of the house. So we got Jaeger out of the house. Obviously, the kids were with me. We sent them home that evening to Karis's parents' house. We said, okay, we need to grab, my work stuff. So I walked my mom through my basic work things so I can continue to work, my computers, some things on my desk. We had her go to our file cabinet and grab a couple important documents, right? Birth certificates, social security certificates, titles, right? Ownership deeds, some of our important documents. We had her grab our jewelry, the more expensive jewelry, our wedding jewelry, some things that are valuable, not only in price or tangible value, but obviously sentimental value. So grabbed our jewelry and packed that up. We had them grab my journals. I went to my office and grabbed my journals. For the first 15 years as an entrepreneur, I kept kind of hardbound, leather-bound journals. This day and age, I do most stuff digitally, right? On Evernote, I've almost lost the ability to write. My writing is horrific. It looks like hieroglyphics, but nonetheless have journals from, that I kept for a long period of time. So grab the journals. Photo books. So photo books of the past, when we actually took photos. You guys remember when we actually had cameras and got things developed? So photo books of the past for Karis and I, and photo books that she's made over the years. All the photo books got packed as well, and a small amount of clothes just in case we weren't going back for a while. And you guys, that was the list. And a couple things from the kids' room that aren't necessarily photos, but kind of keepsakes. Things that maybe, if they didn't lose everything, would be memories for them. And that was the list. That was the list that we evacuated with. That was the list we loaded the cars with. That was the list we got out of the house. That's my list, right? I'm curious, right? What would your list be if you were in that situation? And had a chance to think through some of that list and was looking at it and go, wow. My sister asked to go, that's all you put in? That's, I would have expected, more, right? That wasn't even a car full. And I stepped back and I kind of thought about that question. I'm like, well, those are the most important things. Like if I were to break each of those down, the most important things to me first are relationships, right? First, it's get my wife out, get my kids safe, get my dog safe. Relationships first and foremost, right? The people in your lives are what matter most. The work things so that I can continue to do what I do, continue to, make a living, continue to make an impact, continue to provide, right? No matter if you were to lose everything, we could start again tomorrow with all of that. When it comes to the important paperwork, we're talking identity, right? Some of the identity, who we are, right? The things that we own, stuff that would be difficult to track down and replace. And we talk about my journals because those are the foundation of who I am. Those are the lessons, right, that have made me who I am today. Those are the principles by which I try to live by. Like that's a part of me. Like that stuff's important to me, is the lessons that I've gathered over the years. The jewelry, because number one, it has a high value, and heaven forbid if for some reason you lost everything, we could get rid of the jewelry and get by for what we could sell those for. Those are the things you think about. But beyond that, it had sentimental value. Obviously, things from our wedding day, right? Things that you couldn't replace, even though they are insured and you could maybe get $1 for them. Things you could never replace. And, photos. Most of the car was photos, books, and little things that the kids would remember from experiences that we've been on. And we've talked a lot about that in the past, right? That the most important things we have are our memories at the end of the day, the memories that we've collected, the moments that we've had. And that's what a photo is. Isn't a photo just a trigger to allow us to, reminisce about a moment that was significant, a moment that had meaning? That's what they are, right? It's just a way for us to recall an emotion we had in that moment, that in that moment we felt was important to us. And the collection of all of those, that is our life, the collection of all of those. We've talked about the need not only to create moments and create experiences, but we did a session, go back and re-listen on managing our memories, right? That not only experiencing them, but managing those memories so you have them, right, are important. And for me, you guys, what else was there, right? Everything else are things. Everything else can be replaced, right, over time. I'm sure if we were to lose all of them, obviously it's not a situation anybody would ever want to be in or go through. But at the end of the day, they can be replaced. But to me, those were the things that we grabbed, right? That Karis and I decided about, and the reasons why. And again, I asked the question to all of you, or if you were in that situation, go ahead and leave some comments below, right? It's an important exercise. Like, what would you go through? What would you grab? And even if you're not in a place where, you're surrounded by brush and fires are a risk, I think it's a worthwhile exercise because it gets down to what is important to you. What are the things that are value? If you were to lose everything tomorrow from something outside your control and it was going to happen, like what would you want to take into the next day with you? What are the bare essentials, guys? That's the direct question that it puts you through. And that's the exercise that wasn't an exercise, right? That we had to go through for myself and my family over the last couple days. And it really forces you to think and put things into perspective of what it is that is valuable and meaningful to you right now today and what isn't. And my question is for all of you, right? What would it be? And I suggest you do the exercise, right? What would it be? I suggest you even make a list. One of the things that we did after this last couple days, because fires are things that we face here in California. We are close to a fire zone, is we cataloged all of that, right? So, heaven forbid we don't have to do this again, but if we do, we're more prepared, right? We know the things that are important. And I suggest you guys make your own list, right? And be prepared. I think it's a worthwhile exercise for everybody to go through. So what would that list be for you, right? Make it an actual physical list, write it down, go through the exercise. And, one of the things that hit me after all of that list, and I was thinking through this morning, is if those are the things that I pack the car with, those are the things that I would take, do I place the value on those things every single day? And I thought about, man, I haven't looked at most of those photo books in years, right? In years. I haven't opened up those journals, although I'd like to think I live by the principles as much as I can. I haven't gone through them in years. So it's a nice reflection back on myself of if those are the things that are most important to me, don't wait for a fire to realize that, but show those things, those value every single day. Honor the memories and moments that we have. Relive them, manage our memories, right? Live on the principles, right? Value the things that the kids have. Make sure that they learn how to value them and are grateful for them in their own lives, right? From the very, very beginning, because anything come tomorrow can be taken away, right? Or go away. So not only was it an exercise in, hey, what's important, but it's also an exercise in, if it is important, make sure you make it important every single day, not just when in the face of a catastrophe or a disaster or you're forced to. So there's my last couple days. Wanted to share with all of you guys something I told you was a little bit of a scary few days, an emotional few days, a reflective few days. And obviously the fact that I am sitting here telling you guys all of this means that we are in a much better place today than we were the last couple days. Matter of fact, I'll walk over here and I'll show you guys exactly what I'm talking about. And hopefully this lesson was of value to all of you, to have you not go through the same type of disaster or horrific last few days, but to grab the lesson and apply it to your own life on what your values are, what your important, meaningful things in your life are, so you're aware of them, so you list them, but so we treat them with the value they have every single day, even when not faced with catastrophe or disaster. So here's the top as I go up, and you can actually see the choppers are still doing their laps. But if I glance over here, you can see there's the reservoir, and the choppers are right there. There's two of them. They've been nonstop for 2 straight days, maybe 3 straight days. And if you go right over there, I don't know if you can see in the video, you can see the charred mountain. So all of that white is charred landscape. You can see the red where they were dropping the fire retardant material. I'm assuming that's what they dropped on this side. That hill right over there is where I saw the smoke yesterday, where I thought it was going to come, that they stopped it. Thank you, Los Angeles Fire Department, for everything you guys are doing. You saved all of these houses over the last couple days, because that fire was coming right this way for certain. So we appreciate the work that you guys are doing on the front lines. And thank you on behalf of my family and all these houses, right, and all these families in this canyon and the canyon over, and what you do every single day. So I won't say we're 100% out of the clear. You never know with fire until it's gone, but a lot better today. Clear skies, sun is out, feeling good, feeling grateful to be here, being able to have this conversation with all of you from my house today. So with that, guys, hope all is well in your world. Wish you safety, and take the message to heart today. And I hope and I pray that you never get put in the same situation. But you don't have to be put in the same situation in order to go through the same lesson and extract the same value. Make your list. What's on your list? Share with us below. And live every day, right, with the meaning and importance that those things are in your life. Because at the end of the day, that's all we have. And that's what matters most. So until the next time we walk together, stay safe, everybody. Stay healthy. Hope all is well. I'm going to head back to my house, send some love to the LA Fire Department and everybody out here who's working nonstop to keep everybody safe in this area, and allows us, our mountains, to continue to walk together here in the future, because this wouldn't be here right now if it weren't for them. Take care, everybody. Have a great day.